Hello, my name is Celeste Tyrell, and I'm ANIA's Director of Online Learning. We are so glad that you could join us today. ANIA conducts webinars on topics of current interest to informatics nurses. Today's participants will need to complete the nursing continuing professional development process by completing an evaluation of the webinar at the end of this presentation. You will have 6 weeks to complete that evaluation and earn contact hour credit. And of course, you can do that all in ANIA's online library. Now I'd like to introduce our speakers. Mark Johnson is a graduate of the Clemson University School of Nursing, and he also earned a master's degree in health administration with a focus on information systems at the Medical University of South Carolina in 2004. He has been certified in informatics nursing since 2005 and has served on the ANIA Board of Directors since 2017. He is currently the treasurer for ANIA. Dr. Catherine Taylor Pearson currently serves as the Director for Client Services for 3 Sons Engineering. She holds a Doctorate of Nursing Practice degree from the University of Alabama, and she has served as the ANIA Chapter President for South Texas, was the Secretary for the local HIMSS chapter, and is currently the Northeast Region Director of the ANIA Board of Directors. Dr. Kathleen Morales currently works as an assistant professor at California University of Pennsylvania, as well as an advanced clinical education specialist at UPMC. Dr. Morales' areas of expertise include critical care, informatics, and education, and she is currently the ANIA National President. Andrew Owini has been in nursing informatics for over 25 years, working across multiple settings to improve patient outcomes. He graduated with a nursing doctorate degree from the University of Colorado and a postgraduate fellowship. He is currently the education director on the ANIA Board of Directors. On that note, I'll turn this presentation over to our excellent speakers.
Welcome again, everyone, and we're truly excited to be here and just to talk about opportunities within ANIA and how to leverage ANIA nursing leadership, both for personal and professional goal. I think it goes without saying that here within the United States, there are roughly 65,000 Medicare beneficiaries and a whole lot more Medicare beneficiaries being added to the system. And we also know that within nursing, that's about 5.2 million nurses. There's just not enough nurses to take care of all the patients that will need care. And therefore, that's why we need technology to help us address that need. And an organization like the American Nursing Informatics Association. Just to add some perspective, back in 1893, the first U.S.-based professional nursing association was created, and it was called the American Society of Superintendents of Training Schools for Nursing. I think that's a pretty clear name, right? That evolved into the National League for Nursing Education, and it is now known as the National League for Nursing. We were interested in really seeing what the literature says around professional nursing organizations and professional organizations and some of the benefits of what we can derive or expect to derive from a professional organization. And they're listed here in no particular order. I suspect some of us can relate to a number of these, and hopefully as we go through this presentation, we will see how the American Nursing Informatics Association, or ANIA, contributes in all of these different areas. And that's part of our goal today. And let's move on by just sharing some additional information about the organization. And Kathy, why don't we hear from you around ANIA's vision and mission?
Okay, so again, welcome. So our ANIA vision is to be the organization of choice to advance nursing informatics. We are the only professional organization that is only geared toward nursing informatics. There are others that have other informatics specialties involved, but we're the only one that is just for advancing nursing informatics. Our mission is to advance nursing informatics through education, research, and practice in all roles and settings, not just in informatics nursing, but at the bedside and different roles like that. So we're just here to advance it through all of our all settings. And then as far as values, privacy, inclusion, innovation, integrity, and quality. So those are our values. Advocacy, I'm sorry. I couldn't see the beginning of it. So those are our vision and mission. And then we'll go to Mark for our strategic plan.
Yeah, thanks, Kathy. Hello, everyone. So our strategic plan is something that the board looks at continuously. We do have some focus sessions once a year where we're looking at those three pillars of education, resource, and practice, and the strategies and the tactics that we follow to support the mission through those three pillars. So with education, things like what we're doing today for nursing continuing professional development hours, we have these monthly webinars. We also have Jen, where you have the opportunity for NCPD through our journal as well. With research, we have our research and evidence-based practice committee. We have our education committee. They're looking at the research that's out there, and with our Journal of Informatics Nursing, publishing that new knowledge for our research around nursing informatics and practice. Again, like I said, we have our evidence-based practice committee looking for things that we can do around white papers, the toolkits that we've published in the last couple of years, making those resources available to our members and the nursing informatics community at large, so that we can advance practice, research, and education, support our strategic plan through those pillars with different strategies and tactics. So hopefully you've got some understanding of those three pillars. I think you've probably been involved today. You're involved with education. So just giving you some background on those three pillars that we have supporting our mission here. And I think we'll go on to the next slide, which is organizational structure, over to Kathleen. Catherine Parker, yes.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Kathy. And thank you, Andrew. And thank you, everybody who's online with us today. Our organizational structure is very easy to follow. Many of you are members out there. Some of you might be student members. Some of you may be more senior members. We also have other specialized educational partnerships too that we'll talk about a little bit later, as well as vendor corporate sponsorships. But member types are extremely important to support our organization. For example, I also teach full-time for a local university, so we're always trying to engage with our students with the student memberships. Chapter leaders is another great way to also engage. You can be a chapter president, you can be the secretary, you can assist as a webmaster. There's just a myriad of roles to increase your participation out in the community. Another great step is to actually serve on the board of directors, which in my case has been an honor and a privilege to be the Northeast Regional Director. And previously I was a chapter president. Another great role is to serve as treasurer. We also have our editor. We'll talk a little bit more with further detail. Of course, we have our president, Ms. Barros, as well, and Mr. Johnson, who's our treasurer, and Andrew, who's our educational strategic person. But, we just have continued ways to be able to serve, as well as with our committees and our task force. Some of those are at our regional levels. We have a educational committee both in the Southeast region. Western region is starting to take off more and more with their activities to support our exam and our certification works. So there's just so much out there that is a great opportunity, and we would love for all of you to continue participating. A little bit about the organizational structure. We can't do it without any of you. Our members are our lifeline. You all make it happen. And it's a great opportunity every day. But all that information then moves from the members to the chapter board of directors and the committees at the chapter level. And then it again continues on to the national level and then feeds right into our boards of directors, Journal of Informatics of Nursing. Again, you can get that free on our website as a member. And again, our many committees and task force are including the educational committee. We also have our committee that focuses on all our preparation for our conferences. And then we have certainly special ideas and things that come up that we need to look at. Andrew, I'll transition to you now.
Sure. Thank you very much, Catherine. I know you spoke to the membership types, and I suspect that we won't go through every single membership type, but just to highlight some of those that Catherine had mentioned. The associate members are they are members who are not nurses necessarily, but are other healthcare professionals who are interested in informatics, especially informatics nursing, and support the vision and mission of the organization that we heard Kathy read off. And so if you have colleagues within your various organizations who are very interested in some of the benefits that you receive from ANIA or interested in being engaged with ANIA, they can come in as an associate member. They enjoy all the privileges of membership except holding national office, serving as a chairperson for a standing committee, or any committee that's limited to just regular or full members. And when we talk some more about committees at the national level, we can expound further regarding that. I suspect some of us may go, well, who's a senior member? Is it length of tenure? Because we know some members have been in either ANIA or caring for more than a decade. But the way ANIA considers senior members is anyone who's 65 years and older. They enjoy all the benefits of membership. However, as a respect to them, and the service that's provided and all the knowledge that they bring to the organization, we have reduced fees. We know that nurses never truly retire. They fade away, or I think we've heard that quote. Maybe it doesn't, maybe it's not nurses directly originally, but we know that as we have nurses age, and some of them are still very interested in remaining part of the organization and remaining connected to their colleagues. Honorary members, just wanted to touch on those real quick. If there are individuals who have contributed to nursing informatics, to the profession as a whole, they may be recognized as honorary members, and those are they're inducted as a majority vote of the board of directors. And then lifetime members, our presidents who serve the organization are considered lifetime members. And we'll talk some more about corporate and education membership when we talk about corporate and educational partners. And then just like Kathy mentioned, we know that these various membership types all serve at the chapter membership level, and whether that's directly in a leadership position or on a committee or a task force that might be set up at the chapter level, or as Kathy mentioned, the regional chapter committees. And I'll go ahead and see if any of our other presenters wanted to add to anything that I might have shared.
This is Kathy. I would like to add. a great way to even start getting involved in leadership, this is how I got involved, was at a chapter level. I started the Western Pennsylvania chapter with another person from another organization, and the two of us, we were co-founders of the Western Pennsylvania chapter. And that's how we got started. Chapter leadership is a great way to segue into other positions. Actually, the last three presidents have been chapter presidents. Myself, Kathleen Yolande, and Elizabeth Weeks. We all started as chapter presidents. So, you know, it is we segued in. Elizabeth Weeks and I both segued into regional director. Kathleen Yolande segued into secretary, and then up to president. So, you know, that just is a great segue, you know, starting at the chapter level. It's a great way to start. Anybody else have anything to add?
I'll just echo that. I was, for the South Carolina chapter, I was secretary treasurer, and here I am as treasurer at the national level. So I think it's absolutely a path forward. It's a good way to get involved with the chapter, support your chapter initiatives, and then, as you said, it's an opportunity to move forward on another platform as well.
I totally agree. And I think in serving at the chapter level, there's an opportunity to begin to learn more about ANIA, how the organization's set up, what chapter needs are, provides, I think, excellent insight into what other chapters might need. And I think we've seen that with chapter leadership, where chapter leaders are very interested in having discussions with one another. In my introduction, it was mentioned that I served in the regional director role, and I was in the Southeast. And I think one of the things that I'm sure my colleagues will agree, because everyone on this panel has served in the regional director role, will agree that there are a lot of overlapping issues. And sometimes what we end up doing is going, oh, that issue you have, you should talk to this chapter leadership in order to get some ideas on how to solve some of those challenges you have. Right. Let's move on and talk about, I think as a panelist, because all of us serve in different roles currently and have had previous roles, there is the National Board of Directors. And I know, having moved most recently into the ANIA president position, Kathy, did you want to briefly mention how someone who might be looking to be to join the National Board of Directors would do so?
Well, I'm not sure what you meant by that, but I just will say what the role is of the president. So as far as the president of ANIA, my role is to the first job actually is to plan the conference for the year. But then the other thing is to represent our members at a national level. I represent our members at different national organizations, at NOAA, which is a national organization, Nursing Organization Alliance. It's a bunch of nursing leaders that meet. I meet with them at the Alliance for Nursing Informatics, which is a bunch of nursing informatics leaders that meet regularly. We meet bi-monthly. So just a way to represent, and then just to make sure that we are living our mission, vision, and values.
Great. Thank you, Kathy. And I think what I was referring to is we have an election process for someone.
Sorry.
Oh no, that's okay. For someone who wants to join the National Board of Directors, and we'll talk a little bit some more about that later. And Mark, since you're the treasurer, would you like to say a few words about anyone who might be interested in the treasurer role?
Yeah. So one of the things about the treasurer role is I get to work probably closer than anyone outside of maybe the president on our board with our management group for our day-to-day activities, and as well as around the conference, the expenses and our revenue from our conference that we have once a year. So I spend a lot of time with invoices. I spend a lot of time with checks, as you would expect from a treasurer position. I also spend some time reviewing and reflecting on our investments for our organization. We've done quite well as we've matured as an organization with additional investments from the revenue that we get from our activities. So I spend a lot of time with our management group reviewing account balances, expenses, invoices. From a chapter perspective, I serve as a resource for our chapter treasurers. I help coordinate revenue and expense reimbursement for activities that the regional directors approve at the chapter level. Things like when we have our national conference, many times the local chapter will step up, provide an event, and we do support that. Throughout the year, local chapters are doing events, education events, and we do offer some support. The regional directors do review that. They approve, they send that to me. I coordinate the reimbursement of those expenses. So I don't get involved typically with the day-to-day or the expenses and revenues from a chapter perspective. I do serve as a resource, help to connect those at our management group who might be able to facilitate some of that. I know we've had some struggles as our organization has matured over the last couple of years with things around tax exempt status. There's so many different laws as we have 50 different states plus regarding what that tax exempt status is for the organization. So I've been helped coordinate with some resources from our management group that could help navigate those things as best we could. Navigating regulations from the IRS is always a challenge for anyone. I think that's why people specialize in that. So I serve as a resource to our chapter leaders for those things around that nature. And most of my time is spent dealing with our national organization expenses and revenue. So do I have an accounting background? Not necessarily, but I worked in as an administration for a software company. So I did a lot of budgeting. So a lot of that translated over. So some of that experience from my 9 to 5 with a healthcare software company did translate well into the role as treasurer. So it wasn't something I was as a kid say, gosh, I can't wait till I grow up to be the treasurer for a nursing organization, but that's where I found myself. So if that's something that's in your skill set and your toolbox, definitely something you want to look at the chapter level, and then you could springboard that into an opportunity if something become available at the national level.
Great. Thank you, Mark. Catherine, did you want to share some on the role of the regional director?
Yes, thank you, Andrew. And everyone, similar to Mark and Kathy, I started at the South Texas chapter level and had a great time getting to know that community. And for me, it was a particularly positive experience because I was transitioning out of the military after 25 years of service. And so my circles were changing and my contacts were growing in different directions. So it was very, very valuable to me to be a chapter president on multiple levels. And then recently, last year, I became the regional director for the Northeast, which also has been equally rewarding. Even though I do not live in the Northeast sector right now, it has been great for me to expand my circle once again. Served many years throughout the Northeast, went to school in the Northeast. So it's been a great opportunity for me to reconnect with hundreds of people and hundreds of members and work with the chapter leaders on a continual basis. And we've done some cool stuff in a very short period of time, which has been really rewarding as well. We did a great poster, the previous ANIA conference, going over what was happening in the region, and especially looking at South Texas on what informaticians had to change and do during COVID. So we saw some definite trends there. And now we're starting to regroup once again. We've done another great poster as a region. We looked at social media as well as with our social media committee. We looked at, what our trends and what we could do to help chapters be able to market themselves more, what platforms were out there, what tools. And now we're hoping to also take a deep dive and help to utilize ANIA Connect more as a tool as well. But it's been extremely fantastic experience for me.
Great. Thank you so much, Catherine. And I'll speak to the education director position. Since we know education is one of the pillars and a really key pillar within the organization, and the ANIA board of directors saw it fit to actually have someone dedicated to directing the educational activities. There's a lot of crossover in roles, obviously. And what I mean by that is we support one another. If someone, whether it's especially from membership or members of the board, or we identify a topic that we believe our membership needs to be educated on, that's part of my role. I work with AJJR management organization where appropriate. I work with other board of director members and chapter members in some cases, and also external partners. And if we find speakers that our members need, who may not currently have an affiliation with ANIA, but we believe that the knowledge that they have is of value to our members, that's part of the work of the education committee. And in the role of the education director, I'm also part of two committees. One is the research and evidence-based committee and the education committee. And those committees, as I'm sure we can all appreciate, have deliverables that would include being able to educate us as members and generating new knowledge or refining existing knowledge. So that's part of the role of the education director, and truly privileged to serve in that role. I think part of what prepared me for that role is having worked in nursing education, both on the academic side and in practice. And so I think it's served me very well. If you have a passion for education, I strongly encourage you to, if you're not already, work with your chapters, ensuring that you can bring in speakers, and then obviously joining the education committee. And then on the website, if you're interested in actually giving a webinar or suggesting a topic, there's a way to do that. If all else fails, you can email education@ania.org, and we'll definitely respond to any requests that you might have there. Just to touch real briefly on some of the other positions, such as the immediate past president positions, in order to really retain the knowledge of serving as president of an organization such as ANIA, the immediate past president position was created. And we also engage with past presidents. You can maybe, for lack of a better term, call it the Past President Club. Having served as president, there's clearly connections that have been made that the organization can continue to benefit from, relationships and that's part of why we have that position. The president-elect position is typically selected from one of the existing board of director members. As we can appreciate, we want someone leading the organization who understands how the organization works. And so some organizations have a vice president. ANIA decided to change that position to president-elect, so that person really begins to work very closely with the current serving president and begins to learn the ropes, as it were, and then serve as president, and then the president, immediate past president, would be part of where they would transition to after the president role. I think we haven't talked about secretary, right?
We have not. I can just speak to that.
Sure.
I know much about it, not that I'm a secretary, but the secretary role, what they're responsible for is obviously taking minutes at our meetings, sending out the invitations for our monthly meetings, and they also serve on it's called the NCC, which is, I forget what it stands for, but we get a lot of nursing coalition. I forget what the other C stands for, but there's a lot of letters that get written to like congressmen and things like that. And the NCC does that, and the secretary serves on that position, and she will send things to us to see if we want to support that initiative or not, things like that. So
Yeah, I think, Kathy, that falls under the advocacy.
Yes.
As part of our pillars, is something that we advocate from a nursing organization to support those initiatives at the federal level to advance nursing practice and opportunities for nursing grants and scholarships around education. That's an ongoing process there.
Yeah. So anyone who's interested in the secretary position, obviously the ability to synthesize a lot of information, be able to distill that in a way that clearly communicates what was discussed, but at the same time, you're not doing shorthand and having to put together a full transcription. So that's the National Board of Directors, and we've dropped a link to the current call for nominations, and we definitely encourage anyone who's interested in applying. And want to thank Nicole for reminding us what NCC is, which is the Nursing Community Coalition. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you.
Yes. So, we know that we have a number of committees and task forces within the organization. And a question I suspect a number of our members have is, what's the difference between a committee and a task force? So the easiest way to describe it is a committee usually is, well, both of them are voted on by the board, but a committee is a standing group of individuals where there's a process for adding new committee members, and the tasks that what they're tasked with tends to be for a longer period of time. So for example, we've listed our existing committees here versus a task force, which tends to be more short-lived. Did you want to add to that, Mark?
No, I was going to say it's the permanence around task force versus a committee. That would be the quick distinction. Is our task force are focused typically on one task, if you will, and the committee is more standing. It's a great way to understand that.
Yeah. So usually, if a new task force is being stood up, that will usually be announced. Members will be recruited, and it's just like Mark indicated, tends to be a singular focus. So a good example is the Safer Guides manual. That was a task force that was set up once the Safer Guides was completed, and it doesn't mean that we won't continue to enhance that the Safer Guides, but a task force was set up to pull all those resources together, synthesize them, and come up with a product. We definitely encourage you going to our website. There's a much, should we say, more detail on each of the various committees, and typically nominations open up on average. I think it's please remind me, I believe it's, we have committee members that serve for 2 years. So roughly every 2 years, you would be able to apply. But if you have a deep passion, don't hesitate to reach out. Or if you're interested in contributing in some way, maybe there's a committee we haven't stood up and there's a need that we might not be aware of, definitely reach out and let us know about that. The leadership succession, some of you may wonder what that is. Leadership succession allows for positions within the board to ensure that those positions are vetted or candidates are vetted for those positions prior to them being put to vote. So the National Board of Directors and comes from membership, and the positions are voted on by our members. I don't know why my tongue started getting very thick there, but it's definitely a member-run organization, and all of you have input into candidates that are put up for nominations.
Andrew, I think it's an important point to note that the immediate past president has a they lead the leadership succession committee. They guide the vetting of candidates for our position. So that's a large role for the immediate past president, in addition to the monthly board meetings and providing the wisdom and experience that they bring from their immediate past presidency is making sure that the leadership succession team or committee moves forward appropriately.
Thank you very much. Yes, totally agree. Like we said, I think like Catherine said, nurses don't retire, they rewire. So starting with our past presidents. Did anyone else on the panel want to talk about committees and task force briefly?
I'd be happy to share. Social media committee meets 4 times a year, and then we work a lot by email. I'm sure that a lot of the committees probably have a different structure on how often they meet, but they work with the members to facilitate that. I also see, Andrew, I see a question. Someone is asking, can we talk about any more detail regarding the leadership succession committee open positions and their roles specifically? Is there anything we can share?
Great question. So with leadership succession, as indicated, their role really comes into play. So let me back up and say, we currently have, I guess this is a great time to put in a plug for nominations. So we have a call for nominations for 2 board positions and then leadership succession committee. And so that's a very appropriate question. So with the board of director positions, anyone who's interested in applying for those national positions would indicate their interest. They would complete the required form, as would members of the leadership succession committee. After those have been received, there's an initial vetting that occurs to ensure that all the appropriate paperwork is complete. And then, as indicated by Mark, the immediate past president is the chair for the leadership succession committee. What they'll do is they'll review all the applications that have been received. They'll vet them, ensure that, in addition to making sure that the applications are complete, review everything that's been turned in, and then vet the candidates to ensure that the what the person has put down in terms of their experience, at least at a high level, matches the position. Once they've reviewed that, it's brought to the board of directors for discussion and the final vote to move those candidates forward. Once that's done, then the candidates are listed for the various positions that they're running for. So the role of the leadership succession committee members are essentially, obviously, a willingness to serve, a willingness to meet for the period of time that's required to vet those candidates. In some cases, or in all cases, they will reach out to the candidates that have applied and have a conversation with them as part of the vetting process. And so someone who's comfortable having those discussions, I guess if you're not comfortable having discussions like that, maybe it's a great opportunity to get uncomfortable and put yourself in that position to have that discussion. So was there anything else our other panelists wanted to add that I might have?
This is Kathy. I just wanted to add about the Leadership Succession Committee that there are two positions, like you mentioned. Obviously, they wouldn't be working on the nomination or election this year, but they would be working on it next year. So their time of working is like right around election time. So they might not do or meet often during the year, but obviously around election time, there's going to be more meetings and things like that. So just to let someone know that that's what the role entails.
Thank you. All right. And if there are any additional questions, we're happy to answer them. And if we don't get to them on the webinar, please, if you're interested, definitely reach out. Corporate and education members. So in addition to individual membership, and we'll open this up for general discussion, membership is also open to, we sort of put them into two buckets, but anyone who's interested in partnering and advancing the vision of ANIA is welcome to apply to be a corporate or education member. And so, as you can see listed, we have 3 universities that happen to partner with ANIA, and we have these these 4 corporate members who essentially work closely with ANIA and also experience benefits of membership as corporate and education members. I wasn't sure if Kathy, Mark, or Catherine wanted to add more detail to our educational partners.
I don't really have anything. I know one thing that they do provide is that they are welcome to all the same things that we have. You know, they get the journal, they get the monthly webinars like today, etc. But then they also provide, they get like a table at the conference so that they can, you know, are there to, you know, speak to the members. So they get a vendor table, and the same with the corporate members. They, sometimes they even provide money. We know that Phillips sponsored the luncheon, educational luncheon at the conference this past year. So, you know, there are ways that they are able to support us in that way as well, to support our mission and goals.
Thank you, Kathy. And I think, like you mentioned, from a membership perspective, we had talked about corporate and education members. So by signing up to be a member at the corporate or educational level, they get a certain number of seats in terms of memberships that they can extend to their organization. So if you're, because we know we pull from a wide pool of different memberships. If you believe that your organization would benefit in being either an educational partner or corporate partner, we'll drop the link in the chat, or if nothing else, you know, reach out to us, and we'll be more than happy to put you in touch with members of the team that can talk some more about the benefits of corporate and educational membership. Okay. So with the ANIA communities, I know you had touched on this briefly, Catherine. Was there more you wanted to say about the ANIA communities and how it's a great way to engage within the organization?
Yes, it's a great platform. Many of you probably have access. If you are a member, you simply click on it off the ANIA main page, and there's an ANIA Connect button. And each chapter has their own website, as well as we've developed some various sub-communities, like we have a regional director community, we have an informatics specialty community. There are also all kinds of widgets that you can use on the chapter website. It's a great way to advertise what's going on. You can push the information to your members. You can also have your members come and pull the information on their own time too. So for me, it's a very flexible platform, and we'd love to continue expanding it and increase utilization of it. There's a lot of opportunities with it.
Great. Thank you, Catherine. Mark or Kathy, did you have anything else you wanted to add around that?
No, it's a great offline resource. I've seen chapter leaders connecting, helping with the experiences where they've had challenges or hurdles in their particular chapter. It's a good way to solicit advice in an offline manner, and give folks an opportunity to provide guidance based on their experience in an offline manner. I think ANIA Connect is a great way to resource for chapter leaders, committees, and it's definitely an untapped resource. There are good communities, and there's some subgroups in there that you can really tap into some good information. I think it's something you want to take a look at.
Thank you, Mark. I'll add to the points that they've made. I think excellent points. Definitely chapter sites. I think a number of organizations struggle with ensuring that there's a consistent look and feel to chapter sites if they're provided. A lot of times chapters and other nursing organizations may be required to create their own sites. And so they're trying to, identify a vendor, find someone to build a website. And I think, like Mark said, it's an under-tapped resource. The learning curve for anyone who might not have used Higher Logic may seem a little steep, but once you master the basics, and there are resources for that, I know I've seen that under the chapter leader forum. There's actually a place where you can store files, and there's discussion. There's an ability to load your leaders. You can view members of your chapter there. There are a number of reports that can be run. So all of those exist for every single chapter. And even if you were to move chapters and you work on ANIA Connect, which is what we call it, you get the sense that it's the same look and feel for most of our chapter websites. We know some chapters have used it very, very effectively. You can post events and link to documents as mentioned. So there's a chapter leader community. So there are communities within ANIA communities, and you can set up permissions so that only members of that community, or you can open it up as well, and allow anyone to access that community. I would say there's also the mentorship. Or the mentoring network is what we call it, which is not very actively used, but we know that a number of informatics nursing students are reaching out either for preceptors, or they're looking to do interviews, or they're looking to tap into our knowledge. And so that's one of the communities that are also on the under ANIA communities. And creating a new community isn't overly difficult. And so let's say there's an association of educators that want to get together and create an informatics community. That's something that would not be very difficult. We just create a new community, determine who the membership is. We could load them. If it's not a private group and it's open, there would be an ability to do that fairly easily. So another way to engage either at the chapter level or nationally or even regionally, and being able to access that resource. So we're nearing the end of our webinar, and so we just wanted to summarize part of what we talked about, and just wanted to ask our panelists to start, thinking of how would you summarize the opportunities of ANIA. And we started out with what the role of a professional organization is and how professional organizations can be of benefit to members. And obviously with the call for nominations, there's definitely an opportunity to serve at the national level. So just in summary, these are some of the key areas that we've touched on. And so just wanted to round robin with our presenters and just see if there were any you wanted to highlight or reinforce for our attendees.
I think, Andrew, would be a good time. Someone mentioned in our Q&A for the webinar, I think it was Nicole Muhaddin. She said there's always an opportunity based on where the conference is going to be annually. And for next year, 2024, it is in Chicago. So anybody in our Midwest, Chicago metro area, if you want to help with coordinating the activities around our annual conference that will be in Chicago, that is a great opportunity to network and resource contribute to really what is our biggest event. It's a all hands on deck opportunity. There won't be a lack of opportunities for you to plug in somewhere. So I just wanted to mention that, since that was something that someone had brought to our, bubbled up to us here in the webinar. But more than just what's on this slide really speaks to reinforce what we've gone through here this afternoon or today at the chapter, national, and community levels. But there are more ways that you can plug in and participate with ANIA, and one of those is getting involved with the activities around our conference, which again will be Chicago 2024, and it'll be down in New Orleans in 2025.
This is Kathy. So in addition to that, there's also opportunities to review conference submissions. We review all the submissions for oral abstracts. We review them all, and they get scored, and then we all meet and do that. But that committee meets on that. But we do sometimes ask for outside people to help with that, reviewing those submissions. And then in addition to the oral presentations, we will be doing the same for the poster presentations. So if anyone would be interested in that, reach out and we'll, see if you're able to help us with that. But it is a great opportunity for a member to add that to your repertoire and add it to your resume, etc. It says, do you need a certain level of education to participate? And I don't believe that you do. I don't believe there's a requirement.
Yeah, that hasn't been a screening criteria up until now.
I would say as long as you're a nurse, not necessarily a nurse, but a member in good standing with ANIA, because we're not exclusive to nurses. If anyone else in the related discipline wants to join our mission and our organization, membership is open. But you would have to be an ANIA member in good standing. That would be your primary criteria.
Excellent point. The other thing that Nicole Mohideen it also mentioned is JIN, the Journal for Informatics Nursing, and the ability to contribute via articles. And thank you so much for pointing that out, because it's such an important way to disseminate knowledge around our profession and how to advance and improve care. And so, excellent point, Nicole. Writing opportunities within JIN. And if you go to the website, you can find where you can submit that.
There is another question. It says, can a nurse who's retired but belongs to ANIA participate? And absolutely, yes.
Member in good standing, right?
Member in good standing.
Senior or not.
Yeah. I also see another question regarding our conference fee schedule. Is that available for next year?
Do you mean the price?
Yes.
I don't see that question.
It's in the chat. It's in the chat.
Okay, we haven't discussed that yet, so no.
Yeah, I would think it would be somewhere in the ballpark of last year. We typically try to stay in that same ballpark. We haven't set the budget yet. We'll start that process here. Gosh, we're ended up the third quarter and rounding in the fourth here soon. It won't be long before we'll be publishing those.
Great question.
I think I have one more slide as we're getting close to the end.
So, well, this is the last slide.
Gotcha.
I think in summary, there are numerous opportunities. We've heard of ANIA's vision and mission. That's part of why we're part of the organization. All the benefits that we continue to receive. There are numerous ways to contribute. I think Catherine said it best. Our members are our lifeline. We wouldn't all be here if it weren't for each of our members. And obviously, to be the National Board of Directors, you have to be a member in good standing, like any other committee or task force. And so everything from the chapter level, even if you don't want I know sometimes individuals don't want a formal title, but they want to contribute. I would reach out to your chapter leaders if you don't want to wait for them to reach out to you. Maybe there's a webinar you want to do. Maybe there's a topic of presentation. Maybe there's a community or social project that you are passionate about. Walk for Diabetes, Walk for Cancer, or whatever it is, and you're willing to help organize that, or you're willing to help lead an effort like that. All that starts at the chapter level, or if you do want to serve in a leadership position or serve on a committee or task force, if you want to apply for one of the national positions, we definitely encourage you to do that. And then our ANIA communities, we've talked extensively about the ANIA communities and the ability to utilize that tool, find like-minded members who are willing to jump in on an effort, a similar effort. And then we did talk about the different membership levels. You have a colleague, you love your work colleagues so much, you'd love for them to be a part of ANIA as well. There are a number of different membership levels. So we want to thank you as our members for just the opportunity that you've given each and every one of us to serve as leaders within this organization. And we look forward to continuing to serve you in a number of different ways, and truly appreciate all that you're doing, both individually and collectively.
The deadline is what, September 15th?
September 15th. September 15th.
All right. Thank you. This is Celeste. Thank you to all of our speakers for sharing your knowledge, and thank you for your tremendous leadership for ANIA. We know that if we were in person, you would all absolutely be hearing a round of applause right now. So, and to our attendees, we appreciate you being here. Just a reminder to complete the contact hour evaluation in the ANIA online library. If you have any questions, please do reach out to the ANIA National Office. Have a great day.